Hey everyone, welcome to Logan Smosh Pick. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Today we're going to do another episode of the Setlist Snubs series. In this series, I'm going to tell you about a few songs from different bands that don't get played live very much. However, I'm going to give you some reasons why I feel like those underrated songs actually deserve to get played live more often than they do. If there's a specific band you guys want me to talk about in a future episode of this series, please leave a comment down below. I'll check your feedback. Today, we're going to boost the self-esteem of a few 3 Days Grace songs that would go 3 Days Great on the set list. I've been a 3 Days Grace fan for a long time. I even carved TDG into my toothbrush. I'm not exaggerating. I've said before that I'm more obliged to the Adam era. Adam Gontier was their lead singer from 2003 when their debut album graced us until 2013, just a few months removed from Transit of Venus. Matt Walsh, brother of bass player Brad Walsh, had big shoes to fill. He took Adam's place, and I don't think he completely filled those shoes. When Adam was with them, I adored nearly every track on each of their 4 albums with him, but on Human and Outsider, their latest albums post-Adam, I only feel satisfied with half of the tracks and the rest make me cringe. Reminds me of going from a suite to a regular hotel room, if that makes sense. Something is missing from the band that made it special. I'm not going to call Matt's voice trash. It's not trash. I'm glad they haven't wiped the slate clean of what transpired before 2013. They still give old songs love. Of course, you can't help but compare when Matt sings older songs before he joined. The quality doesn't match up. He sounds good. Not great, but good. Right away, it clicked that the quality of the lyrics diminished substantially since Adam left. For the most part, they went from deep and relatable lyrics to stale and repetitive lyrics. A downward spiral. Songs like Car Crash and I'm an Outsider showcase this problem. I noticed some improvement between Human and Outsider. Things got a little better, but the problems were definitely still there. In my opinion, 3 Days Grace has experienced some growing pains since Adam departed, and while I can never hate them, I don't enjoy 3 Days Grace's music as intensely as I used to. They have changed too much. If you're a fan of the Matt Walsh era, then I'm not trying to persuade you not to give them a chance, so don't go after me in the comments saying, "What's the matter with you, Logan?" You're also entitled to your own opinion. If you lean toward Adam, then listen to older 3 Days Grace tunes, along with Saint Asonia. If you prefer Matt, blast those songs. If you like both, more power to you. I just wanted to let you know where I personally stand, because whenever you discuss 3 Days Grace, this is kind of the elephant in the room. No getting around it. So I wanted to address it before we go any further. Nevertheless, out of the 5 underappreciated tracks coming up, one of them happens to be off the Human album. As you will see, I'm not totally against the new 3 Days Grace. They still exhibit fleeting glimpses of what drew me to them, but if you ask me, the heart of the band has been removed. It lacks the warmth Adam contributed. Before we visit some underrated 3 Days Grace songs, I want to educate newer viewers on why all bands, not just 3 Days Grace, allow certain songs to inhabit the set list and more or less disown others. You know the drill. If you've seen a Setlist Snubs episode before, just skip ahead a few minutes so you won't have to sit through this. The first reason is casual fans live in a world where only hits matter. For example, with 3 Days Grace, you got Never Too Late, Riot, Pain, Animal I've Become, Break, etc. They're ignorant to anything else, the casual fans. They don't jive with a song that doesn't have a single label attached to it. The next reason is phenomenal pressure, both from fans and even band members themselves, consistently follows them on tour. This pressure essentially bribes them to never deviate from their most well-known songs, because then the fans will feel blissful when they hear those tracks. Subsequently, the odds of fans who fit in that category buying tickets to another show go up. Reason number 3 would be songs debuting on albums that failed to make a sizable dent in sales figures are unlikely to thrive outside of the studio, quite unlikely to be brought on tour. Another reason is sometimes a band grows weary of a particular tune, which, believe it or not, actually happens, so they avoid playing it live if at all possible. Continuing on, the 5th reason is casual fans represent the dominant group, tipping the scales when pitted against hardcore fans. As a result, bands will probably give in to casual fans' demands more often versus hardcore fans. The final reason why a particular song advances past the studio and another gets shown the door would be sophisticated technical mumbo-jumbo engineers and producers are, experts at editing sound quality to turn ideas into reality, sound-wise. Unfortunately, concerts have limited technology available, so it would be really implausible trying to match that feat live. It couldn't be done. Now that we've enlightened each other about what goes into developing a set list, let's transition to a couple 3 Days Grace stats I tracked down on Setlist.fm. I'll put a link to Setlist.fm in the description. To find Setlist.fm, go to Google, simply type in the name of the band you want to find, plus tour statistics, and tap on the very first result that appears, and you will be treated to a long list of songs in their repertoire, along with the precise amount of times each one has been taken on the road. If you tap on each song, it'll tell you which specific shows it was performed at. Super detailed. A pretty nifty feature. Album and tour information are also stored on this wonderful website, Setlist.fm, for your viewing pleasure. According to Setlist.fm, they said, "I Hate Everything About You" rules the setlist with a record of 734. You'll quickly notice that after the top 10 songs or so, the number dips at an alarming rate, a far steeper drop than I imagined. So one can surmise 3 Days Grace has accumulated quite a consistent set list over their lifespan. It immediately becomes apparent which songs they play favorites with. They have settled into a comfortable routine. A handful of lucky singles are practically guaranteed to make the cut at each and every public appearance, and anything else gets tossed aside. In fact, cover songs seem more popular than a lot of worthy original material, which was weird to me. If you listen to I Hate Everything About You 734 times in a row, without any breaks, first you'll realize that song is about Randy from That 70s Show. Burn! And second, it would eat up 161,480 seconds, which equates to 1.9 days. Not a bad way to spend a weekend, though. Without further ado, let's pull the curtain aside and reveal 5 underrated 3 Days Grace tracks, one from every album except Outsider, their most recent. I didn't include Outsider because obviously it hasn't had enough time to assert itself live yet. It just came out in 2018, so it wouldn't be fair to include any songs off Outsider. I'll also leave a link in the description to all the underrated songs we're going to discuss. Well, what better place to start than Now or Never from their self-titled album? If I had to choose to listen to this fantastic tune, Now or Never, I would pick Now without a doubt. Now or Never has earned 47 spots on the set list, a scant 6% versus the top dog song, I Hate Everything About You. It contains the quintessential 3 Days Grace light verse and heavy chorus. The lyrics are really inspiring, telling you that if something is really important to you, you should take action today instead of putting it off until tomorrow. What are you waiting for vibes? I believe Now or Never would be beneficial to insert at concerts since the chorus would encourage a ton of crowd interaction. 3 Days Grace does that a lot. They already let the crowd handle singing live on songs like I Hate Everything About You and Just Like You. Why should Now or Never be any different? With the crowd, they could be like, in this time, are we loving or do we sit here wondering why this world isn't turning around? It's now or never. they could do that with the crowd. Jumping ahead, I went with Expectations off Transit of Venus. Sadly, Expectations merely attended 11 concerts. I already had high expectations for this one, but it blew past them. Barry Stock gives listeners a raging riff. The inclusion of electronic elements was an exciting twist, and Defiant Adam steers us toward a conclusion that happiness with where you're at should trump pleasing other people. Expectations was written with you in mind, not them. 3 Days Grace embodied big picture ideas with their lyrics. I'm impressed by the short snippet style lyrics. Each line makes the song gradually come into focus. Expectations emphasized each word as valuable. There was a beautiful culmination of the 3 Days Grace we all know and love. Get ready for a startling decline. It's All Over, descended from 1X, has been by their side a truly pathetic 3 instances. I guess 3 Days Grace really feel over this song. I don't know. This song has addiction written all over it, which doesn't surprise me because Adam wrote the lyrics for the 1X album in the midst of rehab. This song probably echoed his mindset during withdrawal without the substance he craved. This track was hazardous, sinister, and maniacal all the way through. Never let up. Again, it oozes relatability. Everyone is addicted to something. It doesn't need to be alcohol or drugs, like he talks about. Whatever it is, this song clings to you like a diary. It's All Over, being the opening track on 1X, foreshadowed how groundbreaking 1X would turn out to be for them. If 3 Days Grace will be remembered for any album, it will absolutely be 1X. In conjunction with Life Starts Now, Someone Who Cares popped into existence, but still evades the live treatment. To my knowledge, Someone Who Cares has never traveled to a show, not even once. It expands on the dreary themes that evolved into a 3 Days Grace trademark. They confronted the painful side of human life on a regular basis, and this standout song is no different. The lyrics were super descriptive, engaging, and the anguish coating Adam's voice tied it all together. The balance between the smooth verse and the rough chorus was fascinating to behold. The message of compassion dwindling for our fellow man rings true today more than ever. Finally, even though I was initially reluctant to do so, I didn't want to, I fixed my gaze on Nothing's Fair in Love and War, which begrudgingly lives on the Human album. Similar to the previous underrated song, Nothing's Fair in Love and War has gotten rejected at every concert. Over time, this tune has wormed its way into my heart. Unlike many of its counterparts, the lyrics actually were passable here, and I sense Matt poking his head out of his shell longer, taking the song into his own hands. Some of the patterns and mannerisms were reminiscent of past records and filled me with relief knowing that 3 Days Grace wasn't a lost cause. They actually used their heads here. They still possess that fire. If only they would tap into it. Right now it feels like they have all the ingredients for a delicious recipe, but they don't know how much of each ingredient to use, just hoping for the best. It's okay to evolve, but remember what worked for you before and continue to apply it. Don't close that chapter. You don't have to emulate everything. We don't expect you to. That would be impractical. But move forward while referring back to it. You can still pull it off. When will the new 3 Days Grace convince me that they deserve to be taken seriously? Well, it's never too late. Let me know what other underrated 3 Days Grace songs you can think of in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Until then, rock on.